Today we're going to kind of just go over uploading your Unity game to the Windows store using the Universal Windows Platform build. Yeah, and just to see if you actually want to do this, we can kind of go over the end result. So we're going to want to go to Microsoft Store. And once we have that up, kind of just look for your game. Kind of search it. Let's go here. And then, yeah, so if this is what you want, like kind of have your game in the Microsoft Store. And there's chapters throughout the video, so check that out for specific sections. And before we get started, I'm just gonna kind of demo what the application is like. Here's just a quick kind of gameplay we can kind of go over. So we'll attempt to sign up. Let's play a little game real quick. Classic. Unless you don't get the high score unless you get them all right, unfortunately. So let's go quick. Alright, let's see high score. Oh. Hey. Alright, let's get started. What I'm going to do first is just show you my environment setup on how I got this working. I was running into some build issues initially, but so there's three main things: the Visual Studio installer, the Unity Hub, and then just the Microsoft account you would need. So for Visual Studio, if you go into Modify, and also note I'm on Windows 11 as well. So the two main things I've checked off in this Visual Studio installer is the Universal Windows Platform development and the desktop development with C++. And then inside of the Universal Windows Platform, if you go on the right side, you can extend out the options. And then I checked this V143 and then the Windows 11 SDK. And then for the build desktop development of C++, we've added the C++/CLI support for V143 build tools. And then I also have this checked off, but I think that's automatically checked as well. But yeah, so just so you can see all the ones I have checked here. All right. So yeah, that covers Visual Studio. And then for Unity Hub, if you go to the installs, and then if you go to your specific editor and do the add modules, the one I have here for my Unity is this Universal Windows Platform Build Support. So that's the only one that I think is needed for this. Alright, that covers that. And then for the Microsoft account, if you go to partner.microsoft.com, you'll have an option to become a partner or sign in. That's just basically creating an account for Microsoft, which I believe is like $5, or sorry, $25 for a lifetime. And then once you actually have that account, you'll have like a dashboard to use here. And so once you actually have an account, you can access the Microsoft Partner dashboard. And where you need to go is the apps and games section. And this is kind of where you'll create your new product and then import the UWP export that we're going to create. We'll go to the file and build settings. And then within here, if you're not already on the Universal Windows platform, you can just click on it and then you'll hit switch platform. It'll take a little bit to load, but it'll switch over and then you'll get this build and build and run icons here. So yeah, once you're switched over here, all these are just defaults, and then player settings in here. So if you're deploying it for the first time, you can kind of just make the versions whatever. Most of this stuff here, just to note, I believe can also be modified in the UWP export and Visual Studio. So just to note on that. But for the actual settings here, I'll just run through all of them that I have. But for the most part, they're defaults, and then just naming and some logos here. But again, that can be added through the Visual Studio side of things. Yeah, so icons pretty standard. Resolution presentation, again, pretty standard. I think I'd check this box, but yeah, that's just preference. Splash image, again, nothing specific to the UWP export here, so I'm just going to leave that. Other settings, I believe, same idea, just you can use it as you were going to. Let's run through this. Yeah, I don't think I changed anything from default here, maybe other than high quality, but let's leave that. And then the last piece is just the publishing settings. So for this, I'm just going to change my versioning since I'm on a release schedule here. I'm going to 0808. I'm going to update that there. And then for the certificate, if you don't already have that created, it should give you an option just to create it. Yeah, so creating it here. And then you do the password and stuff after that. But I believe once you create it, it's linked up to your Microsoft account. But at the same time, I think that can also be changed within the Visual Studio side of things. And otherwise, pretty standard here. And capabilities, I think that's only if you're using some of the capabilities in your application. And then the supported device families. For me, I'm just doing on desktop and mobile for Windows, so I don't have any other ones checked. Alright, so with that all said and done, what you'll do next is just hit build and pray. Hit select, and then it'll take some time to build the application here. And just note here as well, once you actually build it, it's going to take a lot quicker if you don't really change anything after you rebuild again. But if you're doing it for the first time, it's probably going to take a bit to load. And so you see down below, build succeeded. So I'm going to exit out of here. And so no errors. If you get build errors, check your environment side of things to see if there's specific error. And you can leave a comment if you have any questions there. Okay, so once the build completes, you can go into the build folder you have, and then it'll give you like a Visual Studio solution where you'll finish creating the package that you'll upload to the Microsoft Store. So, alright, so once you actually bring up the application here, we're going to do a few things. So the first thing up here, just make sure that this is marked with master. I've tried with release, and I think other people have too, and there's been just errors with that. I think unresolved, I should say. But yeah, so switch this to master. The next thing you'll do is come over to this right side, and you'll see your application here. And so within here, what you'll have to do is go into the package manifest. And so once you actually bring up this file here, this is the next step of what you'll need to do for the Microsoft Store. We'll just run through these pretty quickly and just kind of show you what I have for it. Yeah, just display name, description, and so on. This is all pretty much default, and then yeah, if you have any other preferences, you can change them here for application. For visual assets, this is another area where you can set your icons. I usually set it here for the Microsoft Store instead of in the Unity editor, just since this is kind of easier. There is a asset generator option where you can import just like a single logo, and then it'll kind of auto-generate it for the other sizes. It does recommend 400 by 400 here, but yeah, it's pretty much preference. And then yeah, you can kind of build this out for your visual side of things. Capabilities. For me personally, I just have the internet, so I'm gonna check that option there. And then I don't have anything else, so I'm basically just leaving those blank. But again, this would be application by application basis. Declarations, what I usually do is just have that empty. I don't have anything to use here, but again, just app by app basis. Content URIs, just empty here as well for me. And then packaging. So packaging, you can set your version, display name, package name, and then also link up your certificate. When you right click on the project itself, there's this publish option. So if your app isn't already associated with the Microsoft Store, this is how you'll do it here, is just right click on it, and then you can hit publish, and then you do associate with App Store. For me, I already went through this, but you can just hit next, and it'll kind of give you a list of your apps that you have already. And then you also have the option to reserve a new app name here. Then after that, you can go to publish again. And then once you save your app manifest, you can go ahead and right click, hit publish, and hit create app package. So in this section here, again, you can look at these options in more detail, but for me, I'm already linked up. So I'm going to publish the app under the current app that I have here. So version name, so that's correct, 8.7 here. The generate app bundle, this defaults if needed. And then I just checked always just to test out the different options, but both worked for me, if needed and always. And then when I upload it to the store, I have had it with one big bundle file, which includes all 4 of these builds, and then at the same time uploading each of these 4 individually. And then these 2 are checked off by default, and I didn't change that. So then I'm going to create this now. Alright, so while that's loading, let's just hop into the Microsoft Store real quick. And so once that build finishes and it's validated, what you'll do is go into your game, and then there's the submissions option where you can upload and manage your submission. We're not going to go through all these options, but yeah, so you can kind of run through everything here and update that as needed. But the main thing that we're building now is for this packages section. So if we click into here, you can see that I did the 8.6 first, and then I updated to 8.7 with that app bundle, but both of those are working right now. Once the build is successful, you'll have this pop-up come up to actually test your application with a few validations from the Microsoft Store. And then, yeah, so for this, you can check automatically submit after, but I'm just going to hit the launch app certification. Yeah, good. And so once you actually click on that, it'll give you an option of what test you want to run. And for me, they do suggest, I believe, the asterisks, which I don't see any, but I usually just keep everything checked just to see things. And so this will run for a little bit, and it'll kind of pop up your app a few times just doing some tests and so on. So just, let this run a little bit, and then we'll get a report afterwards and kind of take a quick look at that. Right, so after that ran, it looks like it passed. We'll do a quick look. And you can just do like a quick review and see all the tests here. The one issue that you may run into is the supported API test may fail. And if that happens, check that you're on the master build. And then the same idea when you're in this publish area right here. So we go to create app package again. Next. And then, just make sure that these are marked master as well. I ran into that issue, and it's a little painful. And so after that's working correctly, you can bring up your packages section again in your submission and just drag them over, and then you'll be good to go.